Taliban, Joanna Marie, big up on herself. Um, Prayers and blessings to Herb Nelson and his wife. Big up to the man who started me along this journey, man called Rasclem. Now, we've been, in the first broadcast, I said we're going to highlight the good and the bad, because no matter what you hear me say about Jamaica, or how people describe Jamaica in a derogatory way, there's always something good going on in Jamaica, or something good going on about Jamaica. And one of the things I'd like to do is talk about something good to start off the program. And that is, let me see if I can find it here. This happened a while back, early this year, but it recently came to my attention, and so I have to big up them people, them young ladies. Yeah, it says here that the all-girls team from Jamaica, comprising 4 friends from Campion College, beat 650 teams from 515 schools in 113 countries and territories around the globe, to become one of the 3 runners-up for the 2022 Earth Prize, an environmental sustainability competition that invites young people between the ages of 13 and 19 worldwide to solve the unthinkable. This team from Jamaica was the top team in the Americas and Western Hemisphere, and the only champion team from the Caribbean. So, want to big up them 4 young ladies there. Wish them all the best in their future endeavors, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more from them as time goes by. And we'll also be hearing from other people as well, because Jamaica is not a one-trick pony. We have lots of things going on. We have lots of things to be proud of. You know, food, culture, history, sports, medicine, law, engineering, you name it. You name it. Look across the globe, and I guarantee you that if there is something going on that's productive, you're going to find a Jamaican involved. Somewhere, something, if it's a large production, you're going to find a Jamaican involved somewhere, somehow. That's been my experience. We little, but we talawa, right? And it's just that we have this problem in Jamaica, and the problem is governance that we have to deal with. Otherwise, you know, stories like the one I just read will be few and far between, because the education system is in a mess right now. Anyway, family, tonight we have with us none other than Mr. Conrad O'Brien from Street Talk 93 FM in Jamaica. Now, this man, ladies and gentlemen, family, is a very down-to-earth person, very knowledgeable, very intelligent. He's in the know. He knows what's going on in Jamaica. And it is my pleasure to have him with us tonight. But before we do that, what I want to do is talk about a little bit, and Conrad will delve into this, but talk a little bit about the Prime Minister's speech this past Sunday. Now, I don't know how many of you heard the speech, but I listened and I took copious notes. I also paid close attention to the amnesty and the Firearms Act that was recently passed. Just so you know, there was a Firearms Act of, I think, 1967. Yeah, 1967, I believe. And this is the second one. There were amendments to that over the years, but this one too has repealed that. But when you read it, you'll find that what they should have done is they should have just made amendments to the old one, because the new one, and I'll point that out later on in the broadcast, the new one it's basically the same. In fact, in some instances, it's worse than the same. And for the life of me, I don't know how and why this happened, because we have some of the best and brightest legal minds in Jamaica. And somehow, when I read the law, And it took me like, I spent about an hour reading the thing. And they had teams of people drafting this thing for a few years. And yet, in the 1 hour that I read this thing, I found all kinds of issues with it. All kinds of issues that will affect the Jamaican people. And it will affect the judicial system as well. Because I'm sure that there are so many loopholes in there that defense lawyers are going to have fun. Trust me on this one. Also in the news, the Minister of National Security, Dr. Chang, made a statement recently that the reason for the increase in crime in Jamaica is because the PNP defunded the police. Now, we all know that he borrowed that term from the US. But we know what it means. And the question is, did that really happen in Jamaica? We could go back and look at history to see whether it did or didn't. My feeling is that there was no defunding. The ministry put forward a budget to Parliament. The budget was passed, was approved, and the monies were allocated. No, we can argue about the sums of money allocated. That may be a worthwhile conversation, but the fact that they defund, I wonder if him know what defund mean. I don't think so. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used that word. But anyway, he said they defunded the police. I went and I looked at some statistics. And here's what I found. I have it right as well, but due to the technical difficulties, I run around and I try to get things done. Things get shift up. But I'm sure I'll find it before the end of the program. When the PNP, and by the way, let me make it absolutely and abundantly clear that I'm not partisan. I'm factual. When the PNP turned over the reins of power to the JLP in 2016, the crime rate, the homicide rate was trending up. I think the year before it was somewhere about 40 per 100,000, and the year before that it was 30 something per 100,000. But in the year that, in fact, I think I have it right here. In the year, okay, here it is. In 2015, there were 1,208 murders. And by the way, these stats are coming from the JCF. In 2015, there were 1,208 murders, which was about 45 per 100,000. In 2016, February 2016, the JLP won the general elections. In February. And for that year, the amount of murders increased to 1,354, making it approximately 50 per 100,000. So the first year they had it, it was 50 per 100,000, 1,354. In 2017, by then they're firmly entrenched in power. The number of the number of deaths by homicide was 1,647, making it 55.7 per 100,000. So it went up. In 2018, it went down. It was 1,287. In 2019, it was 1,339. It went up. In 2020, it was 1,323. It went down a bit. And last year, it was 1,463. It went up. Family, listen to me carefully. In 2015, the last year the PNP, full year that PNP was in power, 1,208 murders in Jamaica. The JLP took the reins in 2016 to now. And there has not been a single year that the murder rate is 1,200 or below 1,208. Not a single year. Now, if the PNP defunded the police and they had 1,208 murders, and then the JLP funded and continues to fund the police, then why is it the murder rate is so high? I mean, the argument then is that we should defund the police, because when you defund the police, you get 1,208 murders. But when you fund the police, you get 1,463. I hope my people understand what I say now. I hope you understand what I say. Right? It makes no sense, that statement made by the minister. And if you notice when it comes to crime, going back to the Prime Minister's budget presentation to Parliament, it started out being actually going back to Mr. Montague's statement. He said that it was because of illiteracy. He said a lack of basic literacy is one of the root causes of crime and violence. And he also blamed it on untrainable and unemployable persons, which lead to the proliferation of gangs, criminality, and lawlessness. You know who I talk about? The people who come from them places, the place behind me, place like Waterhouse and Whitfield and Backto and Riverton and Tel Aviv and Bower Banks, them place there. Them people I talk about in the cause of crime, right? And then they move from that to poverty. Then it's the Don syndrome, the Don man syndrome. Then it's garrison neighborhoods. And if you remember, people, one time them said it was the reggae artists and dancehall. It was everything but their failed efforts to deal with the crime problem. And it's sad, because what I expect from a leader is that mistakes are going to be made. And so a leader is supposed to stand up there and say, listen, the buck stops with me. I made the policy, or I supported the policy. It was a failure. We're going to do something else. Take the blame. But if you listen to the Minister of Education, that man, Robert Nesta Morgan, he never ever said the government wrong about anything, as far as I'm concerned. Because I listen to him, not every day, but I listen to him. The only time I heard him accept blame was, I think it was last week, where there was a press conference and he must have given out bad information about the location or the time or something like that, and he took blame for that. But other than that, no. He's a relentless defender of the government, even when it's patently clear that they've made mistakes. And if you notice what I just said, made mistakes. We're not talking about corruption, no, that's intentional. We're talking about situations where they've made mistakes. They won't even admit that. They blame everybody but themselves. But tonight, we are going to deal with not only the Minister of National Security, but also the Prime Minister. And we're also going to look at the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education. As I said, I took copious notes when he made the speech. And you can't run away from your words. I mean, they're taped, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little song for bringing my friend, the fireman, as he's popularly known. If I can get this thing to go up. Okay. And this song, I don't know, me love play message music, right? I don't believe in the whole heap of full song them where now I really bring something to the table in terms of educating and uplifting the people. So I'm going to play this song, and I want them to listen carefully to the words, and then I'm going to bring on my brethren.
Yeah, oh, 'cause I will never see, and I will never stop burning these fires non-stop. Yeah, oh, yeah. Alright. All the leaders, them will let the people down. Have them holding on to showing them a drown. And the leaders, them will let the people down. They always let the people wear a frown. And the leaders, them will let the people down. Them trying to blame it on the dancehall and the artists and the sound. The guys that let the people down. Then as they get to use them on the sound. Yo, Babylon a speak them words, but we no love how them sound. Got them see them wanna turn it in a gun town. No fear to you, them turn in a gun clown. Gunshot a tear off them head ground. Boom. Well, every other day and next body them found. Well, in and them own a blood, missy said them drown. Who them boy I really want take for clown? Them this last year I am profound and say the leaders them a let the people down. Have them holding at the straw when them a drown. And the big guys a let the people down. They always let the people wear a frown. And the big guys a let the people down. Try to blame it on the dancehall and the artists and the sound. The big guys a let the people down. Down. Alright then, wow. Promises are comfort to a fool. Babylon I said them a go build more centers and school. I know me there to see a chair and desk, much less a stool, much less a yeah, wanna hear me now? Me never say a pencil or a pen, much less a rule. I who them want take for fool, me can't fool. I leaders them a let the people down. Have them holding at the straw when them a drown. And the big guys a let the people down. Them drinking the people blood, them a blood down. And the big guys a let the people down. Have them holding at the straw when them a drown. And the big guys a let the people down. Righteousness not on the youth, them in a clown. Wow. But get to youth not see from afar. Cause all the perpetrators war, yeah. And the youth them a fight over house and car. Who want for the superstar? Well, I hear me see them we even sell you out if you and them a come from far. One a red eye man over him on a car.
Yes, people. Yes, people. The bigger heads and the leaders are let the people down. Them a give straw when them say I drown. Them claim to them a build school and this and that and that and nothing. Anyway, it is my distinct pleasure and privilege to bring onto the show right now the one, the only, Conrad O'Brien from 93 FM. Welcome, my brethren.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? The regal man himself, Mr. Wilfred Rattigan. It's indeed a pleasure for me to join you this evening or this afternoon going into evening across the diaspora and indeed right here in Jamaica. Gather a number of persons will be glued in to us this afternoon going into the evening. And indeed, I'll try as best as possible to ventilate so we have some clarity and our people are a little bit more educated on some of the issues at the end of the program than they are or they were at the beginning. So,
well,
yes,
no, thank you very much, my brethren. For those of us in the diaspora who don't know this gentleman, what I'd like for him to do at this point in time is to take a few short minutes. Don't make them long, my brethren. Who is Conrad O'Brien?
well, basically, Conrad O'Brien is a boy in Manchester. You know, would have educated at various institutions across the country to include my tertiary studies in Kingston.
Okay.
And indeed, someone who worked in the financial sector as a trained financial advisor.
Are you there, Conrad? Oh, he's reconnecting. Well, while we wait for Conrad to rejoin us, we could talk a little bit about the speech itself, right? Now, let's start with health. I have to call him back.
Yes,
Sorry about. Yeah.
good. Yes,
Yeah,
I
one of
was
the
saying,
shortcomings of technology. But go ahead.
no problem. I was saying, and then I venture into the media landscape. I spent some time during the early sojourn of the now defunct Hot 102, when it was radio waves and when it became a national station. I spent some time there as assistant marketing manager to Carlington Sinclair. Many persons who are listening probably would know that name. And I went over to 4106 where I worked in the marketing area, write script and actually voice commercial under the management of the founder of the station, Newton James. And indeed, I did a sojourn back to Hot 102 under the management of Ken Williams, where I hosted a program called State of the Nation. And then I did a stint with a community radio station called Central 96.3 FM, and they have an outfit in the United States that's called Adoration Gospel FM. So it was a twin portfolio there. And now I am at the mighty campus of the University of the West Indies.
Good.
Where I hold straight up Mondays and Tuesdays from 9 a.m. until 12 noon. And, I am just indeed humble for the opportunity to add my voice to the discourse that take place on a day-to-day basis and assist in shaping public opinion. And I hope however minute my contribution is, it's making some amount of sense.
All right. Well, listen, brethren, it won't be minute, and you and I know that. So people them join me because them say them want to talk out the things and them want to talk out and up the things, and that is what we're going to do. We won't start with the crime thing because the crime issue alone, coming from the Prime Minister's speech and even before that's going to take like maybe days, right? So what I'd like to do is start with another ministry that he spoke about. And let's just say one thing on the crime issue there, Ratty. Go ahead.
What we right now in Jamaica is making the news in the zone of state of emergency, the precinct of the state of emergency. A soldier shot a young man in the downtown Kingston area on Saturday, and the jury is out in that as to whether it was cold-blooded, because the footage that we're seeing seems to show where the young man was walking away. We understand that particular soldier has been taken off frontline duty and he is cooperating with the investigation. Now, I'm making that point to say that in itself, the state of emergency is problematic because what we have, soldiers on the streets of Jamaica doing what is arguably police work, and soldiers are eventually trained to kill. Indeed, it is a point of body. But also, when you go to the checkpoint, the police officers are quite query themselves and wondering why are they here. So all in all, it is a measure that don't really make sense. As we speak, the Parliament is still meeting here to deliberate the extension of the state of emergency. From all indication, don't seem as if it's going to get very far, because it seems as if there's a done deal that the opposition will not support it, because the opposition, through its leader and the spokesman and national security Peter Bunting, and by extension other members of the opposition, are sticking to their proverbial gun to say that the state of emergency is indeed unconstitutional based on court ruling right here in Jamaica. But then again, the Prime Minister of Jamaica is known to do things that are unconstitutional, that has been tested in the court and basically thrown out, such as the undated sign letter, the NIDS bill, and I could go on and on. Most recently, we saw where an appointment was made for the immediate past head of the Jamaica Defense Force, and that has to be rescinded because it was indeed unconstitutional, because based on the role that he played, he would not be qualified to be appointed to the position, although it was done. So all in all, what we're seeing here with the state of emergency is not the first act of unconstitutionality being put forward by this administration led by Andrew Michael Holness.
Okay, sir. Well, it sounds like, you have convinced me to start with crime, and we may not get to the other topics, but you're around, I'm around, and so if we don't get to them today, then we'll get to them some other time. But
well, not at all. But we can move on, because what I think it was important for me to bring our brothers and sisters, especially in the diaspora, up to speed as to what is basically taking place and what's trending right here in Jamaica. Because it's also important for us to look at things such as the education ministry, that our students are now suffering because a number of students here in Jamaica, they're on a welfare program that is called the PASS program, that they get lunch in school. And it is said, not by me, but by persons who would have done even greater study on the issue. It shows that a lot of our students, the meal that they would have received or have for the entire day is as a cook meal. That's the meal that is given to them through the PASS program. And indeed, we're seeing where a number of our secondary schools here in Jamaica showing that they have not gotten the allocation to provide those meals, and hence they had to suspend that program starting last week, Friday, until they receive the money from the government.
okay, all right. I tell you what, you talked about SOE. We're coming up on the top of the hour, so we'll try and get some points in before the commercial break, and then I'm sure you'll stay with me for the rest of the program. But let me just bring everyone's attention to the 2017-2018 budget presentation made by the Prime Minister. He told Parliament that, and I quote, says, this is his speech, as it turns out, more police cars, more cameras, more raids and hard policing may have a short-term effect, but certainly will not have a sustained long-term effect. Now, that is SOE. That is SOE. He went on to say, the plan to tackle crime cannot be successful if it is narrowly focused on the police getting the criminals off the streets. And listen to this section. Listen to this sentence carefully. A crime plan is only one element of a greater strategy to address all the elements to bringing sustainable peace and security to Jamaica. And with that, he introduced something called Plan Secure Jamaica, which is supposed to encompass the crime plan. In 2019, that was 2017, 2018, 2019, he said, Mr. Speaker, I know people are no longer talking about the lack of a crime plan, but the pace of the crime plan. But I urge patience and continued support. We can only place value on quick wins. We cannot only place value on quick wins. So what he's saying, and people are saying, where's the crime plan? Where's the crime plan? He's telling you that the crime plan is in Plan Secure Jamaica. But here is the issue. A crime plan must be measurable, reasonable, attainable, and affordable. And you must have benchmarks. You must have deadlines when you're going to do certain things. Right? And you include the public and everybody else, right? Now, in Plan Secure Jamaica, there are no deadlines to speak of. In fact, let me tell you quickly about Plan Secure Jamaica and the various aspects to it. And people will understand why you will never understand the crime plan that Jamaica has. You know why? Here is how the Minister of National Security described it. He described it as the plan to tackle crime cannot be successful if it is narrowly focused on the police getting the criminal of the streets. Blah, 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 blah. No, that was the Prime Minister's thing. The Minister Chang said the Plan Secure Jamaica is the most coordinated, inclusive, and enduring security program that has ever been introduced in Jamaica. It is geared towards creating a safe, secure, cohesive, and just society, thereby setting a key condition for increased and sustained growth and prosperity. That was followed by Minister Montague's 5-pillar strategy, right? But here's the thing. The Plan Secure Jamaica has 10 strategic focal areas. I won't read them out to the public. And they cascade to 6 strategic elements. And they cascade to 5 pillars. Now, people, una follow me? Then there's something called the National Security Policy. It has 15 key capabilities. Now, tell me, and it has an action plan as well. Now, who has ever explained all of this to the Jamaican public and said, look, it's so confusing that I'm telling you the ordinary man in the street reading this will be completely lost. Completely.
Indeed, it is safe for us to say that the only thing that we have seen that seems to mark all of this into one, it is the state of emergency and indeed the resources, because that's all that you hear coming from the Prime Minister and indeed the Police Commissioner and the Minister of National Security. All of those pillars that involved in that Plan Secure Jamaica, we have not heard anything about them. We have not heard, and we don't expect for us to get all the meat and the bone in the public domain. Or at least we expect to get a skeleton program as to say A, B, C, D. This is what we are going. We're laying the pillars.
But you know what, Conrad?
You understand where I'm at.
Yeah, you know what? I'm dying for a reporter to ask the Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister, and the Police Commissioner to explain Plan Secure Jamaica so that the ordinary man in the street will understand the plan and understand his role in the plan. Brethren, listen, we have to take a commercial break now.
Greetings, this is Marlon Burrell, and you're locked in to Reggae Global Radio, where we get high on reggae.
Ladies, lovers of the music, it is here, the brand spanking new album from Ed Robinson and Ian Sweetness, a tribute to Teddy Pendergrass. Amazing. 10 blazing tracks, 2 amazing singers going hit for hit, classic for classic. A tribute to Teddy Pendergrass, Ian Sweetness, Ed Robinson. Oh man. It's out now. Available everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your music, it is there. A tribute to Teddy Pendergrass, brand spanking new, Ian Sweetness, and Robinson. Ladies, gentlemen, you've got to have this in your collection. Get it now. Available everywhere. Bruv, my last baby already gone off to college, mate. Is what this is send come gimme, man. Is a big album still, I love it. Big up Ed Robinson, Ian Sweetness, but this better come with a contraceptive.
MRE Entertainment, in association with VPAL Distribution, presents the brand new hit single.
I'm Robert French, and you're listening to my new song, Every Day of My Life.
Now available on all major digital platforms.
Every day of my life will be I just loving you. Spending the rest of my life always I just loving you. Every day of my life will be I just loving you. Spending the rest of my life always.
Making great music is one thing, sharing it with the world, that's another. Let the professionals at Reggae Global Entertainment help you to another level. Specializing in artist management, booking, public relations and marketing, and promotion, Reggae Global Entertainment can help you with event planning, websites, photography, and video production, press releases, legal services, and graphic design. They can even help you with music production, so you can get the sound that you want every time. Call Reggae Global Entertainment at 954-804-8199. That's 804-8199. Or visit them online at reggaeglobalentertainment.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the sweet reggae music you've been yearning for is here. The brand spanking new album, Live My Life by Tony Roy.
Gonna live my life the way I wanna live it. The mercy.
Amazing 12 dope tracks. Tony Roy, you done did it on this one. And of course, the latest single, something special for the ladies. Honey, I love you.
Honey, I love you.
Yeah, yeah.
Words can say yes. Honey, I love you. I just
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, if you ain't got this one, go add it in your collection right now. It's Live My Life. It's Tony Roy.
You told me I was blind. You told me I was slow, but I've seen
It's the brand new album, Live My Life by Tony Roy, in stores right now. iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, all your digital retailers. Yo, I can't lie, this Tony Roy album nice, man. 10 minutes done tell you that.
Reggae
Live
Global
My Life,
Radio,
Tony
alive
Roy.
and kicking. Yours truly, Rupert T, reminding you each and every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us. Entertainment, music, and more. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. The most music allowed by law. If you miss Tuesday, catch me Sunday, 12 noon. Gospel intertwined with great Caribbean blended on the one. Reggae Global Radio. Rupert T, courtesy of Viscosity Blend. Make it a date. Reggae Global Radio. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Sundays, 12 noon.
Bread and butter issues that really taking place here in Jamaica. And it's important that we twin whatever we're talking about here in Jamaica with the diaspora. Because, for example, the hardship that facing the Jamaican people as a result of the high prices, the low wages, it impacts our brothers and sisters in the diaspora because your families and friends put pressure on people who are in the diaspora in order to offer some amount of support to them just for the basis of buying food. Because what is happening here in Jamaica is about 2 million of our people are unable to eat properly because of lack of income. Food is not cheap in Jamaica, and it's amazing. I'm making a segue from security to this situation because what we're seeing now, Wilford, is that because of what is happening in that area, it is driving the crime somewhat. Because a lot of the youngsters are saying that, listen, we are not going to be sitting down and staying here and die from hunger. So the whole business of chopping and other nefarious activities are on the horizon. We heard from a senior superintendent in one of the police division in Kingston addressing a group of people in his division just yesterday, saying, and was reported in the Gleaner today, that a good 40% or more of the recruits in the gangs are students of school age, that is to say 14, 15, up to 17 years old. They are the prime target to recruit in gangs, and they're active participants in the gang situation here in Jamaica. Now, one would remember some time ago, former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson put on the table a program called Values and Attitude Program. and why we're not supposed to speak ill of the dead. But two main protagonists against this plan were Edward Seaga and Wilmot Perkins. They basically poo-pooed the plan and rubbish it. What that would have contributed to the fabric of Jamaica, I'm saying that it would actually soften the population, because what we have right now in Jamaica is a very coarse population. People who decide that this them not take no talk. And as a result of that, the whole murder and crime and violence is at a fever pitch level. And it seems as if the government of the day can only respond with SOE, which is a net fishing approach and not a spear fishing. And as a result of that, it is trampling on the Jamaicans' right. So how do we fix all of that? We hear the government talk about the unemployment figure that's trending down. Yes, we're seeing the numbers, the absolute numbers there, where it is reported by Statin that the numbers of unemployment decline in Jamaica. But when you strip away and go beyond the surface of it, Ratty, you recognize that although we have a less percentage of unemployment, less people are actually in the workforce. So it begs the question now, where are these people? What activities are they involved in? Why have they left the workforce? Is it because they are being paid $9,000 per week? As the report is saying that about 60% of our workforce, that's what they're earning.
Hold on. Let me stop you a second there. Let me stop you a second, brethren. You said that the weekly wages, the minimum wage in Jamaica is 9,000 Jamaican dollars. Now, make us take a step back and take stock of that number. Based on an exchange rate of 150 to 1, that comes out to $60 per week.
Yes.
Which is 12 US dollars per day. And you just made a statement saying that 60% of the population in Jamaica, this is what they're earning?
Yes, 60%. Because the jobs primarily that we're talking about are menial jobs in wholesale. The most important job out of all of that, or the job that's probably paying at the higher level that has been created in Jamaica now, is the BPO sector that some people are referring to as modern day sweatshop. I don't know, I've never been in one, but that is what they hear people.
You know what I'd like you to, let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you for a second. What I'd like you to do, because you and I had a conversation recently, I think it was Sunday night, and you told me a story about two women who were working in a restaurant. Would you care to share that with the audience?
Indeed. There's two ladies that are known to me personally. They live in the central part of the island. And they were employed to a restaurant, earning the minimum wage of $9,000. When I went to the restaurant recently, I didn't see both ladies, so I inquired. And I was told that they actually walk off the job because when they calculate what they have to use to pay their bus fare and to eat something, it amounts to 7,000 plus. So their net pay was just about 1,000 plus Jamaican dollars. Therefore, and I'm not accusing these ladies, but what that means, it means that a number of our women, our ladies, our young women, would have to probably see other means of bolstering their income, especially our single mothers and so on. I won't hazard a guess as to what they may get involved in, but certainly I am sure that our listeners can deduce from the conversation all the kind of things that could have been, that can take place in order for ends to meet. That is the fabric of Jamaica against the background of our government talking about how much $1 billion they rake in terms of excess taxes via GCT and at the gas pump, etc., etc.
All right, hold on a second there. Now, in his speech this past Sunday, the Prime Minister said, and I'll quote him, he said, the core of the party, the Labour Party, is the working class. He said the mission is to lift people out of poverty and improve the quality of life and create prosperity. And that is, his aim is to move working class people to middle class. Now, the example you just gave, that woman, her net, after she's paying out her bills and everything like that, she's going to end up with 6.6.
Not bills that pay bus fare.
Bus fare and food. So when you even get to bills yet.
Yes.
So, but even if you set aside the bills, she's going to net $6. Now tell me, how can you move from the working class to middle class with six American dollars? How?
Let's look at it. It's a question that some people don't have because it can come across in a political way. But the last time that our people was given a great opportunity to move themselves into the middle class was during the regime or the administration of Michael Manda, when a number of persons were allowed, people who were cross-program workers, they were able to get their children into tertiary education, tertiary institution. So that cadre of persons were able to become teachers, nurses, lawyers, doctors, Indian chief, so to speak. The fact of the matter is that at this time, without that assistance and that coming from the government in order to buttress people to educate their children in this manner, we're finding that the middle class is, so even youngsters who matriculate in terms of the CHC, a number of them are staying away from the tertiary level training because they are unable to finance their education. That's what is happening. That's what is happening. So this conversation about moving the working class to middle class, if you notice, the Prime Minister just merely said it. He didn't tell us how it was going to happen, how this is going to happen. And that is where the rubber really hits the road, because it's okay for everybody, anyone to come glibly and make a proposal. However, when you say show me the money, that's where it is critical. And the Prime Minister indeed need to lay out this plan, how he plans to move the majority of Jamaicans from the working class to the middle class. As a matter of fact, I dare say that what needs to be fixed, first of all, is for the working class to move to be earning a reasonable income, because the middle class that we have in Jamaica now is one paycheck away from poverty. That is the middle class that we have in Jamaica, one paycheck away from poverty, my friend.
All right, listen, moving along, freestyle. I was looking at the Firearms Act of 2020. And I compared it to the Firearms Act of, I think it's 1967.
Yes.
When I look at the new one, the one that was just passed recently, I think it was at the beginning of this month, it says here that in section 19 that the minister, and I guess they're talking about the
Minister of National Security.
Yes. Right. They said that he has the right to call an amnesty that may result in a reduction of the number of illegally possessed firearms or ammunition in Jamaica. And it goes on to talk about public interest, blah, 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 blah. We'll get back to that. But, so that amnesty lasted 2 weeks. It ended, I think, midnight this past Saturday, right?
Yes,
But
the 19th.
but how many people know that there's another amnesty in this law?
Before stick up in right there. Stick up in right there. Let me get see if I can read this. The Sunday Gleaner dated the 20th of November 2020. That was the day when the Jamaica Labour Party had its conference at the National Arena. The Sunday Gleaner, in bold letters on its headlines, read thus: guns in the shadows, 20,000 firearms in circulation, with lapse permit, FLA begins crackdown. You say that, I don't know, immediately, what jumps out at you, Mr. Rattigan?
Mm-hmm.
What jumps out at you from this?
What jumps out at me from this is that this amnesty that they're talking about is nonsense. And FLA should have been involved. They should have reached out to those folks before and said, listen, an amnesty is coming.
It's also saying that a lot of Jamaicans, for whatever reason, whether it is a loved one passed, had a firearm locked in a safe, the occupant of the home were not up on the curve and understand what was going on there, that person could be taken into custody and serve up a period of up to a minimum of 15 years, and at worst, life imprisonment. This is what jumps out at you. So, as you said, the other amnesty that is embedded, why that was not utilized.
Let me get to that other amnesty, but before I do, the minister indicated that the purpose of the amnesty was to get legacy guns. He said he didn't expect the dons and the bad people to turn in their weapons, right? He expected people like you just described, where your grandfather left you some relic, some antique, a Saturday night special or a 38 or whatever. He expected weapons that were registered, right? But were licensed, but it lapsed. So initially, the guns were issued legally. He's saying those people, we need them to turn them in, right? No, him get 200, but I'm very skeptical of that number.
No man, not 200.
Well,
we understand there is a blur line between 70 and 90. The Prime Minister is saying 90, and we understand that the Security Force reports 70.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is, there's a buyback program going on right now under Crime Stop, right? And what I'm fearful of is that they may have taken some of the guns turned in under the buyback program and switched it over to the amnesty, because both of them were running at the same time. But here, exactly. But here is a second amnesty period that people don't know about, and this is so it's inelegantly written. And I shudder to think that people actually worked on this document for a significant period of time. People who are supposedly bright and learning. Yes, but and I just mentioned to you section 19 that says the minister can start up with can initiate the amnesty, which he did for 2 weeks. But if you go to section 52, it says that, subject to section 54, a person who comes into possession of any firearm or ammunition shall, within 5 days after coming into such possession, unless the person has obtained that you should take it to a sub-officer or the authority. But listen to this. So what it says in essence,
I'm laughing because I know what is coming.
Yeah, 52 and 54. What they say is that if you find a gun that may have been lost, right, or lost or stolen, then you have 5 days to turn that gun in to the authorities. 5 days. But listen to where it gets ridiculous. It also says that if you, Conrad O'Brien, you found a gun, right? And you believe it to be lost or stolen. And then you tell me, I say, boy, Ratty, watch out, I find that thing, I know, right? You have 5 days to turn it in, but guess what? Me have 24 hours to tell the police, say, you have the gun. And if I don't tell them, guess what? I'm subject to prosecution. So now you have the gun for 5 days. See how ridiculous it is? So you can keep that gun for 5 days. So if the police stop you, you can say, hey, you can tell them I just found it 2 days ago and I'm getting ready to turn it in. And them can't lock you up. No, the other thing, or they shouldn't lock you up. If you get a good attorney, you'll be off in no time. The other thing about it is that they don't clearly define some of the terms. And one of the things that's absolutely critical, where you have different courts involved in these kind of things, is that
we describe that as clumsily written.
Okay, fine. I'll take it then. I'll take it as that. But what they should have done, they should have defined jurisdiction, saying, okay, where can you bring this person to face justice? Because under the Gun Court Act, several courts have, and probably even before that, several courts have jurisdiction to listen to criminal possession or illegal possession of a firearm. The resident magistrate court, or they call the parish court, or the circuit court, or the Supreme Court, right? Now, in the 1967 Act, it says that if the action is brought in the resident magistrate court, you face I think you face up to 5 years. I have it here. You face up to 5 years. And if it's brought in the circuit court, you face up to life. Right? Yeah, you face up to life. No, what they did in this thing, what they did in this thing was that they wrote it up so that it says if you're charged in the circuit court and found guilty, you should expect a minimum of 15 years, right? But when you go to the back of this law, it talks about the resident magistrates court, saying that you face a minimum of 5 years. So if I'm and I'm not trying to be clever, but if I'm an attorney and I get a client who is looking at 15 years in the circuit court, I go and bawl, plead, cajole, beg, and say, look, I'm going to file all kind of documents. Say, no, you have to bring this charge in at the parish court when face 5 year minimum of 5 years, as opposed to minimum of 15 years. I mean, I can go on and on and on about the deficiencies with this law. I don't know who write it, if them is drunk, if them is smoke weed, if them, I don't know what happened. I don't know how them get this document.
A lot of overlapping. But let us look at the legislation now to talk about the mandatory. Let's understand how we can pick the written words apart, pick it apart. But let us look at it on the surface. That 15 years to life in prison. Let us basically get nostalgic here. One recall the Gun Court Act and how it was dubbed as the red fence. It was painted in red because it is dread. And what did we achieve from that in terms of crime reduction in terms of murder? Did we achieve anything from that?
That's a fair question.
And couldn't we be subject to going down the similar garden path with this? Where? Because the minister and the prime minister basically telegraph their hand. They're saying that, listen, don't expect much guns or any gun at all from criminal element to be turned in. Therefore, what we're going to be seeing, I'm hazarding a guess, we are going to see a high level of police homicide, because it is clear, if we're to deduce from what the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security is saying, that bad man now go hand in them guns, so there's going to be a lot of shootout on road. You understand where I'm going? Does that sound plausible? Because if if you're not going to turn in your gun, the police is going to come for you. And it's obvious that they're going to be a shootout, because if a man decides to listen, if there's a situation where this man says, I'm not going to be getting the chance of my lawyer defending and dealing with the case in a particular manner, it's going to be off the bat. Life 15 years to life.
Well,
and it simply means
well,
that you may see a lot of police homicide, because we know. So it drives us back, Sarati. It drives us back to the point now as to where is the crime plan and what are the strategic measures that will be employed to basically ensure that we have crime reduction.
Okay. Well, I just found it certain of impact, and it says for unauthorized possession of firearm. One, on summary conviction court, such fine should be less than $3 or imprisonment for a term of not less than 3 years as the court considers appropriate. Right? So, if you get charged with parish court, you will pay a fine of not less than $3 million, or imprisonment of not less than 3 years. But if you're convicted before the circuit court, you shall be sentenced to imprisonment of 15-year minimum coming. You know, see, well, yeah?
You're an attorney. How do you elevate from the parish court to the Supreme Court? Is it automatic that a case is taken to the Supreme Court, or there are certain court cases that will be automatically tried in the Supreme Court?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but it's not specified in the law. And so what we need to find out is what are the requirements for a case to be brought in the parish court versus the circuit court, because both of them have jurisdiction, right? And the penalties are like chalk and cheese. They're as far apart as you can imagine, right? So defense lawyers are going to have fun with this. Good luck. Let me just quickly turn our attention to something that I must get to, because it's so important, and I really want to get to it. Now, in his speech on Sunday, the Prime Minister said regarding health, Ministry of Health, he said that he had received complaints. He had received complaints about health.
And they're legit.
And he said, and the complaints had to do with space, equipment, and services. Space, equipment, services. And he said the complaints were justified. That's his language, not mine. Then
justified.
Yeah, and he moved on to say, no hospital has been built in Jamaica in 25 years. And that the government was embarking on a plan to build new hospitals, clinics. He didn't give us any time frame. It's a political speech, no time frame. Then he went on to say that he wanted to recognize the work of the Minister of Health, Minister Tufton. No, did he forget that the Auditor General just issued a report talking about the shenanigans going over at the Ministry of Health? And it had nothing to do with the dead baby, and it had nothing to do with the dead babies or the other scandals. This was purely about money, how you manage the funds over there. COVID funds.
400 billion and counting.
Yeah, how you manage COVID funds over there. That's what they were talking about. And nobody opposed the Auditor General's report. Nobody objected to it. So we have to assume that it's true. Nobody said, hey, you made a mistake right there. Nobody said that. So we just have to admit that, assume that. And then he's going to turn around and he's going to recognize the work of this man. Now, keep in mind that Tufton, Minister Tufton, I have to give him his title. Minister Tufton is not a medical doctor, people. He has a degree in, I think, business and marketing. Yeah, right. And business, because he has held himself out as some business guru, a consultant. And so you can when you can give him some sympathy and look the other way when it comes to things relating to medicine, like COVID and the dead babies and all that stuff. You cannot forgive him when it comes to the finances, because that's his strong suit. That's his strong suit. He's a business manager. He says that openly in some of his speeches, that he's worked here, he's worked there, he's consulted in business, finance, blah, 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 blah. And yet still, the Auditor General's report showed that COVID funds were diverted for non-COVID purposes.
But you know,
go ahead.
Wilford, I think I sent you, or you're in receipt of a clip that one of our senior journalists here in Jamaica, Cliff Hughes, commentary on his program yesterday, where he said that the people of Jamaica is in a difficult spot to believe Mr. Holness, and as it relates to his commitment to do away with corruption. He said it, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the tape is there for you to play. I don't know if you'll be able to play it so persons can listen into it. Also, on the street in Jamaica here now, it has reached a crescendo where a lot of people are now dubbing our dear beloved Prime Minister as the corruption boss, and also as a corruption boss, and also the demolition man. And I gather that the spontaneous booing that took place in the United States about a week or so ago of his wife was as a result of the connection, or how the Jamaican people that live in the diaspora, how they were feeling as to the high-handedness of Mr. Holness and his administration. I said we're a bit there to bring that in, but it's all interrelated. The J.C. Hutchinson, again, he was also cited by the Attorney General. Mr. Carl Samuda was also cited, and the AG recommend that sanction be taken against them. The General Secretary and Minister, the General Secretary of the party, let's separate them. The General Secretary of the party, Dr. Harris Chang, and in his capacity in government, the Minister of Health, Minister of National Security, he was quoted in the Gleaner today, article in the Gleaner, I mentioned it on my show today, where he was saying that Mr. Hutchinson was already punished, so they see no reason why any action should be taken against him. May I inform the listeners and viewers as to what was the punishment for Mr. Hutchinson, Minister Hutchinson? He was removed from junior minister or minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Agriculture. He was relieved of that position to be given a similar ministry in the office of the Prime Minister, without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister.
Listen.
You hear what I said?
Yeah, I hear you, Conrad.
You hear what I said?
And the audience, they're listening. Listen. And that's why I say it all the time, that people need to get the facts, and they need to do what's necessary to bring it to the attention of the government. And there are ways that they can go about it to get the attention. Right now, as it is, they take the people for granted. But let me just say this. Jamaican politicians, by and large, do not respect Jamaican justice. They do not respect the Jamaican justice system. They don't, because they know that they can do whatever they want and they'll get away with it. Things will be swept under the rug. You won't hear about it. A story will be front page for a day, and then it may have a shelf life of maybe 3 days, and then something else will replace it, and then you don't hear about it.
And what happened? The fact of the matter is that it stayed there. It's they depend for lapse in memory and all of that. We can cite, for example, the case of Ruel Reid, former Minister of Education, and the president for the CMU, and Mr. Reed's wife, his daughter, and the councillor in the Brownstone Parish Council or Municipal Corporation. What is happening? The DPP said a couple of weeks ago during the trial of the young man who carried out the quadruple murder in Upper Clarendon that cases of high profile nature, they have to put it through the court system quickly. I don't know if it gets higher, the threshold gets higher, then a minister of government has to be removed from his portfolio. A president of a university have to be relieved of his portfolio duty and all of that. I don't know if you have a higher profile than you can get. And that has been languishing for years and years now. And we have not heard anything. The Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Fitzbailey, at the beginning of this year, said that there are some cold cases that they are going to deal with. People expect that, for example, that case with the Prime Minister's lawyer, Mr. Bailey, where the gentleman was found dead in his home, murdered in his home, dead in his home, in his house. We believe that we would have seen where some energy would have been put to that case so we could have a closure so Mr. Jeremy's family could feel a little better. The fact is that we heard nothing at all about it. There are other cases where a hotel in Mandeville, after a meeting with the Jamaica Labour Party during the last general election, they went there to have a after party. We gathered that one of the men basically was disagreeing with how things went at the conference. He was shot dead. All of those cases are cold cases, and we hear nothing about them. These are the things that are happening in Jamaica. But we operate on a political basis because we believe that once you went out and voted JLP or you went out and voted PNP, you must not say nothing. You must not say nothing because Jamaica and the masses don't need anything. But you know what, Mr. Rattigan?
Yes, sir.
The masses are their own worst enemy. Because I tell you this, a number of persons who are listening now probably will say, listen, what the boy Conrad has said, what Ratty has said, just because he or the girl for that matter, or the lady for that matter, just because he or she supported the Jamaica Labour Party.
Well, let me just...
And they're in government, not understanding that we have a system of government in Jamaica that is the Westminster system, where the government of the day controls the purse string. The opposition don't have any say in how money is spent. Go ahead, sir.
Well, you know, you talk about justice or the lack thereof, and in the Plan Secure Jamaica, it's one of the 10 areas that they said they label it justice, and they said they're going to arrange for the smooth and the quick administration of justice. We have yet to see that in Jamaica. But get back to the point about Jamaican politicians don't respect Jamaican justice. That's why we're calling, and I'm part of a group that's looking at donor funds, because you know what they respect, you know what they fear. I know some of the politicians, they might listen to this, and I listen carefully now. Listen to what Rattigan has said. We don't fear losing access to the US, meaning your green card gone. And you fear being prosecuted by the US. Them two things that you don't fear. You don't fear justice in the Jamaicans. You can weave and bob and duck and dive on the way around it, but you can't do it with the US. So one of the things that we'll be looking at donor funds. Donor funds. And donor funds, we're talking about money that come from the US, or we can trace back to the US taxpayers. US taxpayers don't like when people ramp with their money. And so we'll be approaching the authorities in Congress and in the various ministries to take a look at some of these funds when they got to Jamaica. And it's a straight line. Straight line. The money went to the treasury, it went to the ministry, the minister is involved, and the permanent secretary, and the money flows through them, right? And we will be employing the services of some forensic accountant and others to take a look and to see where these monies went. Because if it's determined that some of these donor funds, including IMF, IDB,
World
and
Bank.
others, World Bank monies, right? Monies only get from USAID, INL, the State Department, so on and so forth. Those monies, it's a straight line. And if it's determined that some shenanigans go on with the money, and the monies were wire transferred using the American banking system, dog nyamono sopa. Dog nyamono
By the way,
sopa. Because let me finish there.
Go ahead.
I think it was last week, Friday or the Friday before. There's a gentleman in Trinidad called Jack Warner.
Yes, yes.
And I'm hearing that the politicians them are shaking on them boots.
Former vice president of
FIFA. Yes. And Jack Warner was involved in corruption with FIFA, allegedly. Along with others. Those others, the ones who have been caught so far, they're
Blatter, who was the president and all of that.
yeah, some of they're in jail, or they finished them jail sentence, and they're forfeited their property, right? Ill-gotten gains. And so Jack Warner is fighting extradition, and he appealed all the way up to the Privy Council, and recently the Privy Council tell him, no, go you have to go face judgment in America. So now we're still fighting it in Trinidad. But you know what? Long run, short catch. At some point, he's going to run out of legal options. He's going to have to go back. And remember now, Jack Warner don't have no property in America. Jack Warner don't have no bank account in America. You know what Jack Warner's crime was? Was that he got involved in corruption, and the ill-gotten gains, he put it in a bank that is connected to the U.S. banking service. And that's the connection. So all I want to down there who take the money already, it's too late for right now. Too late. Because there's a digital record of that. This is another days where you take money in a bag or whatever. Everybody, your wire transfer. So there's a record. So when the donor agencies and the donor countries start coming back and start asking, and by the way, some people say that I shouldn't even mention this, but I mention this for two reasons. One is we want to not have sleepless nights. And two, we want to stop the thieving, because if we don't mention it right now, the thieving will go on until when the FBI or whomever come knock on the door. So we want to stop the thieving now and take care of the poor people in Jamaica. Build the clinics, them want to say no, build the schools, take care of the roads, give the people them jobs, right? All of the stuff where concerning service delivery, we're supposed to do for decades and decades. And it's not just this one party. It's not just this party. Let me make that abundantly clear, right? Whoever get caught up in the crosshairs, them just have to pay the price. But again,
so you're serving warning. You're serving notice.
Yeah, and like I said, people said to me, why you shouldn't tell them, and you should have just make them and them come knock on them door and take them and things. But no, but you see, what happens is that in the meantime, poor people are going to suffer. It will be continued suffering, and we can't afford to have that happen. You see this behind me. There's a reason why we have that zinc fence and things like that now. And them people they may fight for. Them people there. The fence are not supposed to there. Look on the road. I wish Pamela there. Look on the road. Dirt road.
Yeah.
No man, this can't go on favor. So all I want to take the money and things like that, you're forewarned. And this is like if you commit a bank robbery too, So you might as well just take some of the money and go back and start fix up the people in place and give the people them jobs and give the people them health coverage and make the people in fitness start go school and all of that stuff. Because here what now, when you rob a bank, and you hear them look for you, carrying back the money does not mean that you won't be prosecuted for the crime, because the crime has been committed. But done. Come in, brethren.
I just want to say to you that one of my caller today, a gentleman from, I think he's a retired teacher from in the hills of Clarendon, Frankfield area to be exact. He made the point today, and he make reference to you, that you would have never seen the light of day in terms of being a commissioner of police in Jamaica, because too many people would have been bungled.
Conrad, let me tell you something. Let me tell my listening audience this. If I had gotten that job, the parliament that you see now, right? the composition that you see now of that parliament would not be, that wouldn't be the composition, because you know what? Half of them within the first few years of my tenure would be wearing jewelry at the expense, and there would be government guests, because we know what them doing now. And I'm going to bring on our guests pretty soon who going to spill the whole things and talk out the whole things. We know what them doing now, and me know what them do. And so if me they come down, me I bring my team, and my team them can't bribe my team, because my team above and beyond reproach. Them don't know them are people, and them are people, them just straight as an arrow. And them people are like bloodhounds. Once them get on your trail, them come off your trail till them catch you, right? So if me did get that job there, and people are saying, oh, it's sour grapes and this and that and that, you know what? We would not be having this conversation about corruption and bribery and all that. We would not be having that conversation. Come with that, clean up the place. Them know what I mean. Because part of it is control. Part of it is control. Look at the police commissioners they have installed. Look at this one that's there right now. He was chief of staff. Then the prime minister take him and make him his first and only national security advisor. Then they make him police commissioner. You think if that prime minister, our prime minister, and it's our prime minister, by the way, people, right? It's not the JLP prime minister or PNP prime minister. It's our prime minister. You think, say, that if that prime minister is accused of wrongdoing and this police commissioner have to get involved with investigating and possibly arresting him, you think that gonna happen? You think that gonna happen? Not with this police commissioner. With me, I wouldn't even think twice. I wouldn't even think twice.
Big question. Big question there. Let us touch a little bit on infrastructure before we close. The road network in Jamaica here, Mr. Rattigan.
Let's talk about roads, my brother. Go on.
There is a present scenario here. Well, the Portia Simpson-led administration install a edge, so what we call edge, it's commonly called, an insurance, that if gasoline oil reach a particular level, I think it was $67 or $65 per barrel, then the edge would chip in, and that would insulate the Jamaican people from the high prices of gasoline that we're facing now, which we're paying in excess of $100. We're charged in excess of $100 per barrel. When the Jamaica Labour Party administration came into office, they discontinued the edge. However, they still continue to collect the $7.50 per litre from the motorists. You hear what I'm saying? Yes. Even with the high prices of gas, and people going through the pangs of hell, through COVID, etc., they continue to take that. The people of Jamaica, the motorists, the opposition, everybody calling them to say, listen, relieve us. Some of us in media, including myself, so relieve us of that particular tax, because the edge is not there. So at least shave the $7.50 per litre off the gasoline, and they would have none of it. By extension, they rake in a windfall from that. Mm-hmm. There's also another tax that is there. Well, right. There's three components. Another tax that is called the ad valorem tax that goes up once the price go up, that go up as well, so they collect more. There's also another tax there that they put on to call for road maintenance fund. Forgot the exact amount, but cumulatively, all these three taxes represent 45 cents out of the dollar. That is to say, if you attend upon the gas station to purchase $10,000 worth of gasoline, which is a drop in the bucket, you are given $5,500 worth of gas in your vehicle. And the other $4,500 goes towards the government of Jamaica. That said, almost all the road network, apart apart from the highways in Jamaica, is like a donkey track, right? And for our international audience, it means that the roads are in a bad or a terrible condition. I drove into Spanish Town last week, and the thoroughfare there from the hospital going straight up to the main town center. You could not believe that you were in a major town. Very, very, very poor road condition. Here in southeast Clarendon, all the major road network are inundated with massive potholes. And here what happened? To add insult to injury, you have officers from the Island Traffic Authority, along with police officers, have the temerity to be out there rocking people's steering wheel and say your front end is faulty and remove your license plate from your vehicle. I spoke to, and people are hitting those pothole holes, damaging their front end. I spoke to attorney at law, Zalika Jess, and a feature on my program called Legally Speaking. And we ventilate the point, and she was saying that the citizenry have a right to take that to court because the government of Jamaica is supposed to provide a decent quality of road for us to travel in based on our tax dollar and otherwise. So we in Jamaica, we have some remedies, and a number of us need to basically start carry some, what they call, not test case, what the case that you carry in court, remind me, Mr. Rattigan.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Case that you would test, you basically say you're carrying a test case into the court. So, for example, your vehicle is damaged on the road, and you take that case to the court, and so on. There's a specific name that you guys use there. I forgot.
It doesn't come to mind right now.
But all of those those things are available to us, and we as Jamaicans, I am trying my best to educate my people, but as the saying goes, you can take the cow to the water, but you can't force the cow to drink.
All right,
the ball is really in the Jamaican people.
Let me jump in when you talk about roads. One of the things that the Prime Minister said this past Sunday was that he said they're tabling a supplementary budget of 4 billion Jamaican dollars to deal with fixing roads. And I have a quote here where him say he's not one to pretty up things, and I guess he was just being plain at that point in time, but still I try to pretty up things. He said that only 10% of the road were maintained to standard since being built, and he said it's not possible to fix all the roads. Then he went on to say that they will repair local and secondary roads, and here is the key phrase: as far as we can. Where the timeline there? Where the timeline? You saw me as a people, don't suck up to them things that when them telling you, oh, we're going to build this and we'll build. Ask the basic questions: when, why, who, how, what, where, when.
I can tell you something, and I can say it for people across the globe to hear.
Hurry up, brethren, because we don't have much time left, you know.
There is an event that is due in February of next year, the LG, the local government election. What we're going to see a few roads being worked on to curry favor. The general election will fall due, well, constitutionally it can go up to 2025. However, the Prime Minister have it within his gift as to when he called it based on our parliamentary democracy. So whenever the Prime Minister decides that he's going to call the general election, we'll start to some rollout, and we hear that some road is being fixed here, there, and certain places and so on, in order to curry favor and buy the election with us, with our own taxpayers' money, and create the impression as if you're doing something for us.
Oh, let me just add this too, that it's not just donor funds, funds that they receive from the US and other countries, but particularly the US that will get them in trouble. But also, if we can prove that there was corruption as far as the taxpayers funds, as far as taxpayers funds are concerned in Jamaica, and that those funds were transferred using the American banking system. And believe me, folks, most of the transfers will be through by the U.S. Banking system. And a lot of the politicians, we know that they have property here in the U.S. We know them have big car. We know them come up every once in a while and them come up and them live big life and hang out with them friends and spend a weekend.
A lot of them come up every weekend.
I rest my case right there. So we know that. So if you take money from the U.S. government, and that's where we are focused on, and you let me just talk it plain. If you thief money, we're coming for take care of poor people, and you take it online in your pockets and wire transfer it out there in America, or anywhere else, as long as you touch your banking system, you're in trouble. And if you thief money from the public coffers and you access the American banking system to wire transfer that money somewhere else, you go and have problems. So either way, you are going to have problems. Let me just put it to you.
Let me take 30 seconds to say this because I'm watching the time. The people of Jamaica must understand that a country just doesn't become a failed state overnight. It dribbles. And even when the state fails, you have some people who live in big. There are car mart in Haiti with Porsche and the highest top-end vehicle, even more so than in Jamaica, that some people are driving and you can go there and buy it and import it into Jamaica. Therefore, don't watch a percentage of the Jamaican population who live in big. I want to say this in closing, Mr. Rattigan.
Go ahead, man.
When I do the math, it shows that based on the GDP of Jamaica, when you look at the per capita income, every single Jamaicans, if we were to divide the wealth accordingly, each Jamaican would be paid about $56,000 or $58,000 per month. That's what would be paid. When you look at that, and when you do that kind of math, and that your population per capita would be earning $56,000 or $58,000 Jamaican, then your economy is in real tatters. Real tatters.
You are, brethren. It's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure this won't be the last time because we have so many more things to discuss. So I look forward to your next trip here, brethren. And again, I thank you very, very, very much for being here to discuss some of these issues. And for my listening audience, remember, Reason with Rattigan comes on 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Tuesday on Reggae Global Radio. That's www.reggaeglobalradio.com. One word. Anyway, folks, I'm going to roll out of here, but I'm going to roll out of here